What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podioslave podcast. My name is Tony, joined as always by Anthony.
I'm here. What's up?
And the one and only King of Maine, Spose himself.
Back again for the manyth time.
I know, how many? 6, 5? At least 5, I think, right? 4 or 5, something like that. Once a year.
They just all blend together as one beautiful good time.
Yeah.
You know, all the appearances. So I don't know how many, but I think only one ever in person, which I think was our last one.
Yes. Yeah, which was, as we were talking just a minute ago, a year and a half ago. So it was definitely long overdue to have you back. And we figured we'd talk Mellon Collie and Infinite Sadness because that turns 30 this year. And we know how much of a pumpkin's head you are. And we are too. So
there's nothing I'd rather talk about than Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness.
I know,
you're in the right place.
It's so good. We have thoughts, and hopefully we'll try to keep it within an hour and a half, but we do have some thoughts.
We have to do less than a minute per song.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. First of all, before we get into me, I feel like you guys deserve some love for absolutely killing it in the last year and a half or so. I feel like the guests keep getting bigger. You keep getting cool stuff that you guys really care about, you really know about, and you're just fucking slaying. So shout out to you guys.
Man. I appreciate
Did you say that because you're on tonight? Like the guests keep leveling up?
I mean, and it just doesn't get any bigger than this.
Well, when you can have royalty,
you've arrived, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I do appreciate that because we feel it. We call it pod momentum, Podmo. Get a little Podmo. And I mean, as you know, you've been in the game for a while. Your resume keeps building, and at some point, they don't even care about us. They just care about who we've had on, you know?
Right. I mean, I guess that's unfortunately the paradox of a podcast is to truly be a great podcast. They have to kind of not really care about you.
Yeah.
And they just love the product and who you have on. But no, man, I've been in crazy. I think last time I ran into you guys or we got together, I had not yet put out whatever the hell my last album's called. What Could Go Wrong?
Yeah.
And so put that out, did a couple tours last year with that, playing with Ryan Curlis out there a lot. And I kind of just been in, you know what, I feel like every now and then as an artist, you kind of got to live for a little while, you know, and that album came from a big spurt of inspiration, which was going through a divorce. So there's like a new era of my life now that I've really been living and been painting. I'm looking at a huge painting right here. I've been painting and I've been making a bunch of music, but admittedly, the music industry for me is at a very strange place because I don't know what they want.
Yeah.
And you know what? Well, actually, I take it back. I know what they want. They want 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, they want 10 seconds of entertainment, and I'm programmed in double album 2 lyric booklet mode.
Yep.
The Segway King.
So
the King of Maine, the Segway King.
I'm out here. So you know, I'm still figuring it out, but I've been making tons of music and just raising the kids and hurt my back at the gym today. And I'm just, you know, being an old man.
40, man. That's what happens.
Coming up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're not there yet. That's coming up.
By the time this comes out, I will be.
It'll
I
be
got
right around then. Yeah.
26 days. So
I don't want to be that. Tony's there. And
I've been there.
Nothing good happens after 40. Like nothing good happens after 10 a night.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Agreed. Nothing good to your back happens after 40. That's for damn sure.
Bro, I can't. I recovered. My back used to hurt, and I really worked it all back up. So today, dropping right back down to square loser sucks. So
dude.
Give me a couple weeks. I'm going to see Segway again. Going to see Billy Corgan and the Machines of God Monday. So I'm hoping my back's good enough to stand in a crowd. With maybe throw one moshy kind of elbow to a guy next to me.
Yeah, I have faith. You'll be all right. The adrenaline alone will get you by. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I'm hyped.
Yeah. Where are they playing?
The Paradise.
Oh,
Tiny.
Wow.
That's like a once in a lifetime. He'll never do that again. Like, this is...
I was just thinking about it. Just thinking how I've... You know, because I've probably seen the Pumpkins, you know, I don't know, 7-8 times. And I've never been close, let alone there's no bad seat in the house in the... Well, there is behind that fucking pillar.
Yeah, but, that's right.
Everything else of the Paradise is like a great view, so I'm really excited. And the set list, I don't know if you've seen, is ridiculous. Even though I try to avoid the set list, they're pummeling it down my throat before the tour even starts on Pumpkin social media. So I know like 20 songs they're playing.
Well, they know what you want. They know that they're just going to throw it right at you.
They're like, all right, if we tell them in advance we're playing Poor Selena, you know,
I have thoughts.
You know, he'll come through. So
I'm coming down. Let's go. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I heard tickets aren't that bad on secondhand market, actually, if you can.
When is the show? You said tomorrow?
Monday.
Maybe. Cool. So
make it happen.
You've got some shows coming up, which we can talk about here real quick. Let people know up front instead of at the end, because maybe they won't make it to the end.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm playing. I'm just playing. To be honest, I could not be happier to not be on tour this year. It's exhausting. It's financially, to me, feels like not worth it anymore. Like in the profit, not worth it. Like to go make it's like, okay, I'd rather have 3 weeks of peace at home. Yeah. So I'm playing a couple summer bangers. I'm about to announce another one in the region. And so basically just doing 3 little bangers and gonna be paying tribute to my album, Why Am I So Happy? My most successful album, because that is the 10-year anniversary is July 10th. So
no shit.
Gonna be playing a lot of that, which I haven't really told the people yet. And I was set listing it out, and lots of the biggest Spose songs period on that album, I think, is why it's because it's really a singles world. Even in 2015, it's a Spotify world, so it's not so much that the whole album had the most streams, it's that Nobody, Alternative Radio, Live Song, The Greatest Shit Ever have the most amount of streams. You
said 10 years.
10 years.
That's crazy.
I don't know how.
Oh,
dude,
man,
it goes by too fast. I mean,
I'm doing a 10-year anniversary profit grab every year from here on out.
You got it. Absolutely.
This is my 15 year of I'm Awesome this year.
Nuts.
So it's been, I should have profit grabbed that more, but I really wasn't capitalistic enough.
Well, we could do 15 plus 1. I mean,
well, 20 will be here before you know it, right?
Sweet 16, yeah.
Sweet 16, there you go.
Unfortunately, 20 will be here before we know it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you know what? You'll be 50 and people will be here for it, okay?
Yeah,
I hope.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I want to be 50,
but...
so, all right.
So I had a little nerdery in the wild the other day, which we bring up every now and then. I know Tuan told a story a few months back about
what is nerdery in the wild? Before you get it, when
you're just out living your life and you stumble upon nerdery happening.
There you go.
Sometimes you're at a red light and the dude next to you is just jamming the fuck out to Slipknot, and you have to ask him what he's listening to. Right? That's the type of stuff.
There you go. All right, I'm in.
I'm walking into Hannaford, right?
Okay.
And it's like 9 o'clock. I'm just got out of work. I'm grabbing some stuff for dinner before I get home, and these 2 dudes are standing in the breezeway there, and they're probably 15 years older than us, maybe even older than that. And they're just talking about Thin Lizzy, and they're just like, "That's the best wah pedal I've ever heard." And like, they're just going off like this is just their Tuesday night at Hannaford talking about Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, wow.
And I thought I recalled back to the time I ran into you, Spizzy, at Target, and we talked about Smashing Pumpkins at Target. So. I was like, that's us. It's just us.
If I see, it's like you see yourself in a parallel universe, kind of like a Bill and Ted's type of. Yeah, that was us. I saw you at Target, and we talked about the pumpkins because we're very close to that bull moose.
Yep. They just opened. You cut the ribbon.
That's right. That was a big in honor. Also, I noticed, this is a little bit off topic, but not really. I noticed the band Turnstile, who I love, and you guys probably enjoy too, because it scratches all the itches of kind of everything I like. I saw they're putting out a special edition of vinyl of their album that's only at the record store they grew up going to.
That's pretty cool.
Which would be like if you did like a Bull Moose exclusive version. Yep. And I just love to see that at that level, that they're, obviously paying back to their nerdery.
Yeah, and they're huge. So I mean,
the Target. You're trying to say they have a Target exclusive coming,
but not at Target.
They grew up going to the Baltimore Target.
Baltimore.
They've got a Taylor Swift split 7-inch.
Yeah, they didn't sign them all either, right? Somebody else auto-penned them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nerdery in the Wild. That stuff happens. When it happens, I smiled as I'm walking out with my frozen pizza. I'm like, this is.
Did you join them? You should have joined them.
I almost did, man. I almost jumped in because one of them was wearing, Justin from Trawl, his Freak Show amplification, was wearing a T-shirt, and I was like, he must know Justin. I should just pop over and be like, hey, man, I love that you guys are just talking Thin Lizzy in the fucking Hannaford Breezeway, which is a supermarket in Maine. So
there's nothing more important than just talking about stuff you like. So
absolutely, that's why we're doing this. So
love it.
Mellon Collie, 30 years. Insane. How did we get here? I mean, as we just talked, like, it's going to be 20 years of I'm Awesome soon. So we're 30 years since Mellon Collie dropped in 1995.
Suppose I want to know the where, the when for you.
Yeah. So
this
this album, I will just say, I mean, if I would, like Christians have like the Bible,
Mhm.
it's like, or you probably remember the first time you saw the Bible or something, or like you have your own special Bible or something. This is that to me, and it was obviously maybe September 1995 when I saw the video for Bullet with Butterfly Wings on MTV. And at this point, I'm 10 years old. I just turned 10 in the summer, and I was into I had the Pearl Jam 10 album. I'd been into Green Day. I'd had the Blue album by Weezer. I had some hip hop. So I had early in the 90s, I had the, MC Hammer and the Nirvana and Core by Stone Temple Pilots, and those were all cool. But this, when I saw Bullet with Butterfly Wings video, nothing like pulled me in more and felt like my identity was to be this, and so the album came out the next month, I believe October like 25th or something, which can you think of a better fucking date for this
Perfect.
album?
Yeah.
There's no more perfect time that this album could have come out than October 25th, 1995. It's just so Halloween, it's so fall, and I obviously couldn't buy it because it was expensive as hell. It was like $24 or something for the CD, or like $30, and I was 10, and so I got it for Christmas. And I mean, nothing. I even remember just like opening it up, and it felt like they gave you more than you could have dreamed of, with the 2 booklets, with the different material of the pages, and I don't think I knew this word at the time, but it really came with so much lore. Like it came with a graphic for every song. There was a picture. So I had all this like almost like Tolkien-esque like iconography.
Totally agree.
That expanded it beyond just like what it sounded like. But also, if this is my big introduction to this band, I think peripherally I'd heard Today, and I'd heard Drown, and I'd heard like the Pumpkins before that. I'd heard Disarm, but like this hit me at the perfect time where I was like, it was darker, it was more visceral, but it was more beautiful. And so I'm listening to this, and by the 3rd song, by the end of Jelly Belly, you've been introduced to like 3 different types of completely disparate music.
Right? Yeah, completely.
And so I remember putting it on because I'd heard Bullet with Butterfly Wings at that point, and I don't think 1979 had come out. So I had not heard 1979. Around Christmas, maybe 1979 was out. I knew that they were more than Bullet with Butterfly Wings, though, and this, when listening to it, just blew my mind. I couldn't listen to it loud enough. Like I couldn't listen to it enough, and still to this day I can't listen to it enough. Like I've never put it on and I've never even heard Bullet with Butterfly Wings and like turned it down.
Yeah.
To this day. And so
why would you?
Yeah, right. And so that became my obsession, was the band, the Smashing Pumpkins, this album. And so from there I went and couldn't stop buying anything Smashing Pumpkins I could find. The singles, the CDs, the Gish, Siamese Dream, whatever. And the following fall, by then obviously I'm getting deep into the story here, but like the following fall they played Cumberland County Civic Center with Garbage opening for him. And so I really like sealed the deal of my fandom.
You went to that show?
I went to that show.
Oh, dude.
November 4th, 1996 at the Cumberland County Civic Center. It was my first show ever besides a CYY patio show I'd been to. Of Marcy Playground, I want to say. No, that was later. It was some random Self, the band Self, maybe.
Oof, I don't think I've ever heard of them.
No.
Wow. Oh, wow. We'll talk after.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's another episode. That's another episode. You should get him on, but for the Patreon. But anyways, that was my first show, and I didn't know shows weren't normally that loud, and I didn't know, and I smelled weed for the first time, and I saw like girls dressed like sluttily for the first time, and like it was just this all like insane moment that my father took me to. And I remember going to the Macy's in the mall, or Filene's, had the Ticketmaster in it. Had the Ticketmaster in it at 10 a.m. to get the tickets. And so at that point, I am a Smashing Pumpkins super fan. And this also coincides with the beginning and the birth of the early days of the internet. So I, by this time, start a Smashing Pumpkins fan page that I do HTML on, and so this band is like my life. I think it's not like a exaggeration to be like that's like my identity is the Smashing Pumpkins. Like that was it.
So we picked the
10.
right person.
Yeah, we picked the right person. Yeah.
Do I get the job?
Yeah,
you get the job.
Was,
I mean, Bilko didn't respond to the DM, so here we are.
He did like a story like in 2020 that we did, and I was like, "Holy shit, he saw us!" And that was the only time it ever happened, but I was happy it did. So,
first of all, before I say this, just like to say, Billy Corgan, you are my Lord and Savior, and I'd listen to everything you ever do. Listening to him on podcasts, the man cannot hear any detail about the history of his band and not have a 20-minute gripe about somebody who said something negative about it at that time, you know. He's like, of course, now they all love it, you know.
Yeah, misunderstood in the moment, right? But I mean, people love this record in the moment too. But yeah, I hear you. That is definitely him.
Could I just ask real quick, and maybe you could answer this when you do? Would you say in 1996, by the summer 1996, the VMAs September 96, when they open with Tonight, are the Smashing Pumpkins the biggest band in the world in 1996? Because I think they pretty much were.
It's real close. Yeah,
I have to think about it, but
it's got to be close.
They probably were.
Yeah, because it's really pre-nu metal. There are nu metal bands happening, but it's pre-nu metal.
It's pre the MTV wave, and it's post-grunge, right? So it's them. Yeah. It's why am I drawing a blank? Like I mean,
Green
Weezer,
Day's pretty big. Green Day's pretty big.
Green Day, like that wave, but
I mean, both of those bands were bigger the year before and the year after. It's a 95 thing for Green Day, Bush, Weezer. It's a 97 thing for Green Day, 98, whatever. But like, I think in 96, the Smashing Pumpkins are the biggest band in the world.
You're right.
Just to say, I felt very seen, and I felt very like, okay, like I'm a part of the coolest thing happening. It wasn't like this niche thing that it's now become, in a way. So just to describe that.
I think you're right. I think they probably were at that point the biggest band in the world, at least rock band for sure. And they weren't in the pop realm, but they had pop songs. I mean, songs that cross over to pop, which we'll talk about. But Anthony, what was it like for you, man? What do you remember?
I mean, short of going to that Civic Center gig, very similar. So I had an older sister who was 3 years older. She got the double CD when it came out. But you said something that aligned with me, which is Today and Disarm. Those were on MTV, and I knew about them, and I thought they were good, but I wasn't old enough to buy a CD. I'm not going out buying Siamese Dream. I still don't own it. You know what I mean? Like, but I liked it, and I knew the name because they were on less Disarm, but more Today. Today, the video was out there on MTV all day long.
Always.
And then I think with Bullet, honestly, like, I think you nailed it. It just like when he comes in, it's this fucking weird voice, like weirder than the previous releases. Like, and the world is a vampire. The world is a vampire. Like,
I'm like, what?
At 10, I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Like, it's not as crazy as the Beavis and Butthead video shit that I saw, but this is a little more approachable, right? And it's, I mean, you almost feel like you're seeing something you shouldn't see at 10, but here it is. And I mean, I'm trying to think, like, did my parents see me watching this? Like, what did they think? This fucking bald guy yelling, we should
ask Slick to come on and tell us.
But it was captivating. And she got the CD on like a trip to Boston, I don't know, and she brought it back. And like, we didn't have Siamese Dream, but she got this. And then she later got the box set, I forget the name. I mean, you know the name.
It's called The Airplane Flies High.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah. She got that after this, but it was, you said like Tolkien-esque, like that. It almost felt like a classic. Like I had a classic in the moment. You know what I mean?
Like it had been out for 10 years already.
Exactly. Like years, it was from a different fucking dimension.
It just felt like it was just a fully formed universe that it's like almost like Marvel or Star Wars or something
100%,
like it, which in my and even down to the outfits, down to the look of the band, it felt like so much more. To me, it felt bigger than all the grunge rock bands. It felt bigger, and like the ceiling was higher and the world was vaster, and I just super relate to what you're saying about it.
You said something that we've talked about, which is bands that create a world. There's very few bands that do, and actually most of the ones that do have a cult following. This is one that obviously has a cult following, but they created a world where it's like which is kind of bizarre that it's like pre-internet. Like they created a world based on the physical artwork in the music videos and maybe the live show. You know?
Yeah, right. Because there's no internet to be like, go to the Pumpkinpedia and see what, you know, what this song means or what. You can do that now, but you could. I mean, and suppose you started it with your fan page. That's where it started.
Well, I was gonna say I was not the only one though. There was hundreds of them, and I remember, you know, and there were little ones and big ones, but there was Smashing Pumpkins web pages updated every day in that era with news and new photos, and I'd save the photos and like, you know, it was like the lore. I just couldn't get enough of it, and then I think like you're saying, it did feel like it arrived fully formed as this like thing that already existed somehow. Well, and it's I mean that's all a testament to Billy Corgan. Is like this is his vision.
Sure.
This is his insane vision to go against what everybody else is doing in a way. Like no one's making these vast double albums at that time. Period.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah. No. I mean,
I feel like the move everybody else did was go do a really good MTV Unplugged, maybe is like their artistic move. And it's like, to me, the Pumpkins, and there's something about the diversity of the music. And there are other bands of the 90s that are very diverse in the amount of different sounds they can do. But to me, it was just like, I guess I didn't know this at the time, but it's like Bowie-esque and or the Beatles-esque, in that the things range all the way on the same album from Helter Skelter to Rocky Raccoon or whatever, you know.
Shout out Helter Skelter, first metal song of all time.
Yeah.
And I think something you spoke to that I didn't really think of that really attracted me to this band over all the other bands is that it was dangerous. It felt like I wasn't supposed, like there's a song called Fuck You.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's labeled different on Spotify.
They're taking it down. But yes, it was Fuck You and Ode to No One. Yeah.
For 10-year-old me, it was called Fuck You.
Yep.
Parentheses, an ode to no one. And I mean, I downloaded all those fonts, like the font in Mellon Collie, the font on it's the same font from Tim Burton, The Nightmare Before Christmas. The front of
That's right. Yeah.
is a similar vibe to me. You know, The Nightmare Before Christmas, like the dark Halloween lore shit.
And Billy kind of looks like Jack Skellington now, so.
Dude, he really does.
Didn't think we'd be talking about him tonight, but there it is, you know?
Yeah.
A similar story for me. I mean, I remember, and if you listen to our episode around Tragic Kingdom, I probably brought up my buddy Bert, but it was Super Nintendo, this record, and Troy Aikman football, and just taking
bangers,
turns.
all bangers, yeah.
Just taking turns throwing Hail Marys on each other, listening to Mellon Collie. And it was just...
That rules.
His dad had like a wall of CDs, right? So we'd go upstairs, we'd pull stuff off and bring it downstairs, and we always grabbed this one. It was one of the first ones every time. And because it was just so much and it was so different from front to back, it was a little dangerous. And we you know, had MTV, watched the videos. We're like, this is fucking badass. Like we're in the basement playing video games at 10 and we have this record to listen to. So fucking, like, we're living in the best time right now. Like, I don't know if it gets better.
I mean, I still think that, I mean, I don't think it tops that era. Anything I posted it the other day. I was like, I don't think anything tops that 5-year span. But you know what? The only other thing I could think of in this era that, there was a bunch after this, but Rage Against the Machine felt more dangerous than this.
Yeah.
But this felt like,
I agree.
This was somehow, because of almost like you could tell it was almost like an act in a way, like the Zero shirt and the like whatever, you could tell it was almost like a character, like when when David Bowie would like dress up as the White Duke or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you could tell there was something like that to it. So, and it was also more inviting than Rage Against the Machine in a way, because it was pop underneath it all.
Yeah.
Underneath all the visceral, just like Nirvana. Yeah. Just like Nirvana, underneath all the cool guitar I don't want to say guitar theatrics for Kurt Cobain, but like the somehow that's still a pop song. You know, it's pop underneath it. And so the Pumpkins were pop, like goth, glam, dark, visceral pop, or beautiful drum machine 1979 rolling 40s through the convenience store pop.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think the singles that followed Bullet softened that a little bit, where Rage was like, hit you with Bulls on Parade, and then they hit you with
People of the Sun, and then you hear Viet Now, and you're like, turn this down, bro. My mom
might hear this, and she's gonna hate it. But yeah, So we had similar, like we were on it. We were fucking 10 and on this shit. Like, actually,
I was 11, but
you were
yeah.
11 because you're an old fuck. But like, what are kids
Old
that are
guys
10
liked
or,
it too.
kids that are 10 or 11? Did they get down with guitar rock? Like, who do they even have now? I don't like Turnstile. Is that what they got?
Yeah, maybe.
I would say probably there are like, there probably are kids who get down with like Turnstile is probably like the band. It's like I don't think we're the first time 10-year-olds got down with dangerous rock. Like I'm sure Kiss felt like this to people, or like
That's true.
Queen, or like or
Led
whatever their
Zeppelin,
favorite,
yeah.
Led Zeppelin or whatever. But this was, I couldn't. It was a treat for a 10-year-old me to find something this expansive. It's like I still can't. Even today, when I proposed a question to you that we could maybe talk about later, that I was like, I got to listen to the end of Mellon Collie again. Like, I don't know how many times I made it there before I started back to Where Boys Fear to Tread.
Yeah.
Before you.
I feel you on that.
But yeah, it's 30 years out, right? We're talking about this record just about 30 years since it dropped, and I still there's so much music to parse through. There's so many different flavors on this record that you can't really get sick of it. Like, there's not a spot. Maybe the singles because you've heard them all, but because that's radio's fault, not because you played them too much, right?
Yeah.
The whole and it's different from song to song. You go from Tonight into fucking Jelly Belly is an all-time train wreck, but it fucking works because they're both just so amazing at what they are as songs. That's a testament to Billy too, but it's amazing that we're still able to put this on and not feel like it sounds dated or it's gonna bore us, even though it's 28 songs long. Like, it should bore you at 28 songs, and it does not.
No, it just keeps giving. I think we spoke earlier about how Billy's always bitter about perception of things at the time, and I think a lot of that, he's always been driven by that, by personal slights and things people said or categorizations of his band that he disagreed with. And I think this album is a huge response to him being grouped in with grunge.
Mm-hmm.
He always resents it every time they bring it up, that there are some grunge band. And he even had to apologize to Stone Temple Pilots on his podcast, and he had to admit that Green Day was huge. And in the last couple of years, he said these type of things, but he was really driven, I know, by this desire to be like, no, we're not like Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana. We're like Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath and Queen and whatever band you could think of, but mixed with all the Americana and the lore that's tied into this band.
Hey, at least he came around on it. Like, a lot of people.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I just love, like, I don't know, as a musician, I'm driven by shit people say.
Mm-hmm.
If someone ever told me I couldn't make an album that sounds like this, I'd go do it tomorrow. And so it's like, I think I relate a little bit to that. Obviously, he's very, and in the 90s it's different. You hear like one slight in Spin magazine, and it defines how he proceeds for the next like 5 months. But like, I just love that it drove him to make this musically diverse thing, because at 10 years old, I knew that your band never had to be one sound.
Right. Yeah. You found that out from an early music fan age. And, at that point, you're probably, maybe you're thinking about becoming an artist, but you've seen now, okay, I don't need to be in this one box for everything. I can play in these other sandboxes and do different shit because they're doing it, and they're doing it really well. And they're an exception to many rules, but at the same time, like, it's possible. You can go out there and make different things.
Another thing that crystallizes Mellon Collie so much in like our tradition and like in music of the 90s and in the Smashing Pumpkins catalog is the death of the touring keyboardist and the overdose of Jimmy Chamberlain that got him kicked out of the band, that created this different trajectory for the band that led to a bunch of albums that didn't get nearly as much love or sales as Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness. So it made it almost like the end point of the career arc to this point, to that point. And then Adore was met with essentially rejection.
Yep, it was.
So it's really defined as like kind of the last entry into the great, lore of the Smashing Pumpkins. Obviously, I don't agree as like a, fan to this day. I think they had a lot of great stuff after that. I actually have a playlist I made for somebody else of great Pumpkin songs after Mellon Collie.
Nice.
but Adore being kind of a strange mashup of like electro, acoustic, emotional, minimalism, maximalism, both, not feeling like it didn't really know what it wanted to be, but still having hits that were middling in the alt rock world, like an Ava Adore or a Perfect is maybe the perfect example, which had a remix by the notorious Puff Daddy.
Oh boy.
On the single. But it's really like this. I say that to say, as a Smashing Pumpkins fan who kept going after that, and it was a very lonely time, the era of Mellon Collie was like very like, of course I loved the Smashing Pumpkins. They're the cool girl in high school, like the Smashing Pumpkins.
Right, yeah.
They were like the band of the time. And then after that, it really felt like much more of an adversarial, like me against the world type of fandom.
So, and this is, I'm alleging this, don't come after me, Billy, it's a joke, but Billy had a freak off? Maybe. I mean, who knows?
I do not co-sign.
Yeah,
I do not co-sign Billy.
And he probably was never there. He was never there.
So let me say this. I hadn't listened to this album front to back for like 15, 20 years before this exercise of ramping up for this. And can we talk about the fucking audacity and balls this band had to basically open this with Tonight?
Yes.
And you know what it reminds me of, Tony? You just saw Deftones. They open with Be Quiet and Drive.
They do.
And they do that because it's like, no, motherfucker, we have tracks. Like there's more of this endless supply. And you know that's what it was. It's like, I got pocket aces. I'm going all in. I know I have pocket aces. You don't know I have pocket aces. And that's what it was. And I'm listening back to this and I'm like, who would have done that? Bilko would have fucking done that.
One of the only people that would, especially in this time, for the band too. Like they're not that hemming around that long. They obviously had some success before this, but they hemming around that long to be like, we're going to do this. We're just going to open with Tonight.
Crazy.
I think, you know what you said is like the perfect word that really describes what this album was at the time is the audacity, man. Just the audacity to do this, because it doesn't open with Tonight.
It doesn't, but
it opens with 3 minutes of piano,
which is awesome. It's awesome.
And then Tonight, which is, I know you're referring to open with Tonight as this big dick swinging, here's a hit song move, but that's a weird ass song to drop in the middle of when everybody else is dropping, hey man, nice shot, and like, when
Agreed,
I come around and like,
not through the lens we have now. You're totally right.
It's a weird ass, like, and then for it to hang by summer 96.
Yeah.
Summer 96 is the Tonight video, back to back with Mariah Carey, back to back with, Boys to Men.
One Sweet Day, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And then I was also thinking of Mariah Carey Honey remix.
Yeah.
Featuring the notorious Puff Daddy.
Yeah,
that's right.
Jesus Christ.
But Tonight is a weird ass song. It's a weird orchestral, audacious, if the Beatles was one guy when I'm egomaniac, like mission to prove he's better than Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain and Scott Weiland is like, that's what Tonight is, and that shit holds up to this day. That is a perfect song.
It is. It's actually on the Perfect Songs playlist, which we did. I think either Rob or I had it on the second episode that we did of that. So it is on the playlist. And it is a perfect song. It doesn't make sense that it's a perfect song. It doesn't make sense that it was as popular as it was because it's so different, especially coming from a band like the band that put out, Today. They're going to put this out now? Like, holy shit.
And I will say, am I wrong that we kind of agree that Siamese Dream is sonically kind of, it does a bunch of different things, but it's kind of one flavor?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's kind of
given that we've experienced Mellon Collie. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Back at that time, I'm sure Luna and Silverfuck feel very disparate, but the audacity continues with Mellon Collie because after you finish Tonight, it's into a metal. I guess you
it's
call
like
it metal.
It's kind of punky because it's
with
fast.
a pop chorus.
Yeah. It's so good.
The track listing and flow of this album it's the to pull you in, the audacity, the fucking audacity. It's like, this is on our terms, and you know what? You're gonna like it. Not just because we told you, but the product stands on its own. You're gonna like it.
I'm just realizing this now, and I'm not playing dumb about it. I definitely made a double album and did exactly the same thing with the first 2 songs. Here's a song with no drums you wouldn't expect, Self-Destruct, and then right after I had Self-Help, which is the most beat you over the head punk smashing Spose song, Freudian slip.
Yep.
Ever, and I'm sure it's just hardwired into me because this was how I learned to read in a way. This album, not literally, but learned to read.
I was gonna say that's awesome.
And so now I
fuck you and ode to no one. What is that?
Mom, what is this word? But that's kind of like my musical language, I guess. So Jelly Belly, should we just run through this track list?
Yeah, we can keep it semi brief, but yeah, Jelly Belly, fucking awesome.
There's some skippers, so we can skip a few here and there, but
Zero is not a skipper though.
Zero is an all-time 10 out of 10 for me too, because it's so short. It's short. The guitar tone, which they were calling like cyber metal, at the time.
Cyber metal.
He's doing these like, that's how he always referred to it, was like him and James doing these like essentially harmonics.
Harmonics. Yep.
Doing these harmonics to make this riff that's, I don't know, who's ever done this shit? Nothing on it sounded like anything else anybody had done then in the 90s or ever. And it just kept going, because Zero's another super duper iconic hit song that you're never going to see a Smashing Pumpkins show and he doesn't play that shit. And then right after that is Here Is No Why.
Amazing.
Which is maybe the quintessential list, like, or here's a right down the middle perfect Smashing Pumpkins song if you like Siamese Dream. Here Is No Why, but it's a little heavier. And he also says on this, which I think maybe subconsciously is how my perception of this band was, what does he say? The teen machines or the glam. He uses the word glam. And really, I just see this like teenage angst glam, which is carried out from Zero too, which is like emptiness is loneliness and God is empty just like me. It's this and then right into the world as a vampire. It's very dark and despair, but like makes you feel like, yeah, I am dark and despair, but I will kick you in the fucking teeth. Is like the vibe of these songs right into Bullet.
Well, it's just funny. You said Here's No Why. That's like a fastball from Siamese Dream. I never thought about that until right now. And actually, when I was on mute, I was like, do I hear it? Oh, I hear it. And like, so if you come from the Siamese world, which I think, they were on a major label, but they weren't at the Mellon Collie level. So if you were a Siamese like indie guy, there was something here for you still. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where a lot of bands a lot of fans of bands of this ilk are kind of out if they want to keep that, like the core sound of a band. You know what it is. Well,
unfortunately, I think they lost a lot of fans with this album too. A lot of those Siamese Dream,
yeah, probably. Yeah.
You can't look at a post by from the Smashing Pumpkins social media today and not see a bunch of comments that are like, they lost me after Siamese Dream. They really peaked at Siamese Dream. Gish was my favorite. Wow. And it's just you were a certain age. It's just you were a certain age.
Yeah,
it's like if there's like a Drake line where he's like, do you really like, my old stuff, or were you just in college hooking up with this girl when you heard it and that was your favorite?
If you're a college Radiohead if you're in college and you're a college Radiohead during Siamese Dream, by the time Mellon Collie comes out, you might be out. Until you listen to Here Is No Why, you're back in.
And there might be a little bit of, this is maybe not the perfect analogy, but a little bit of like a Korn Life is Peachy versus Follow the Leader type of thing. Like it was like your secret cool thing. And then, okay, now it's on MTV 100%. And everybody knows. So,
yeah. And Siamese Dream has, as we said, like it's a little more, not one note, but it's a little more a cohesive piece of art. Whereas this jumps from place to place. It's also cohesive, but jumps from place to place and jumps from style to style a little more than Siamese Dream did. So if you're anti-new, you're going to be like, nah, I don't want to hear Jelly Belly out of Tonight. It doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And I think I think you guys probably feel the same way as like kind of fans of this type of music and through this trajectory of the last 30 years or so. But I love when bands reinvent themselves on a record. For the most part, I love to, one of my favorite, I think it's punk rock. I think it's punk rock when you are huge, and you're like, the thing you guys, the trick you guys want me to step on stage and do right now, no, but also this.
I can do this too, yeah.
You know, and a band that made me a fan of them by doing that was the Arctic Monkeys, when they put out Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino right after they were the biggest band in the world playing Cumberland County Civic Center. You know, it was like, oh, they're like, oh, you want Do I Want to Know and whatever. They're like, let's go make a jazz lounge album.
That's exactly what they did, yeah.
And I think the Pumpkins probably lost some people with that, but I love that shit.
The thing that a lot of people don't acknowledge is that most times, like, you think it's intentional and calculated. A lot of times it's not. Like, these are just dudes that, like, that happened to hit. We're just going to go back to what we did before that album. You know, it's just.
Right. Well, I think a lot of times this stuff, I mean, the Pumpkins were in a fucking zone too. I don't know. I don't even understand. Because if you look at this era, they toured all of 93, 94 almost. They did Lollapalooza. They did they did the whole Siamese Dream fucking rock invasion tour, which if you look at the tour t-shirt is like 7 columns of tour dates.
Yeah.
And somehow wrote 28 song Mellon Collie and The Airplane Flies High, which is another 30 some songs.
Yeah, they had a ton of music, and they had a ton of music for Siamese Dream too. Like they
right
in this era, they were prolific. Like they had music coming out of and creativity coming out of everywhere because they just, and mostly Billy, but I'm sure obviously in the room, all of them putting stuff together, and they just wanted, they were able to do that while touring. Like that's so fucking hard. I can't imagine, because I mean we've talked to bands. Hey, when did you start writing the record? Well, we got off tour and then we jumped into it. Very rarely is it, yeah, we were in the middle of playing, 26 dates around the country and we wrote this fucking masterpiece. Like, it just doesn't happen very often.
No, I don't know how you would. Do you guys know much about the creation of Mellon Collie?
Some. Yeah.
I think whatever you're going to say is going to be new to me. So
probably,
yes. I mean, I just, all I know is that because there's a lot of demos. You can hear essentially Billy recorded a bunch of demos to 4-track. He rented some little studio in Chicago and did a bunch of simple, just him and acoustic demos. And then the band brought in Alan Moulder and Flood.
Right.
Who, as far as I know, this is the only album they ever really produced all the way together. I know Flood worked on Machina, but this was Alan Moulder and Flood. And they rented out this essentially studio in Chicago, and they had them play all 4 of them in the room together with the speakers. With the amps.
Wow.
So it's like when you hear some like XYU, and you could go listen to like the Mellon Collie box set they put out, which is all on streaming, and you can listen to XYU Take 6, XYU Take 11.
Yeah, there's so many of those.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
It's them running through the song all in the room, loud as fuck, recording that way, and it's just so cool to me because obviously the band broke up from here on. There was only 1 or 2 moments that they ever were all 4 of them together in the studio after this, and it was making Machina, but then Darcy quit. And so this was it. This was like and I think when they did Siamese Dream, kind of notoriously, Billy played everybody else's shit except Jimmy. So this is like the truest interpretation of the band, the Smashing Pumpkins, the Darcy, James, Jimmy, Billy Corgan Pumpkins is this album, and it's just so cool to me. It's like, it's almost adds to why it's so special.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew of them breaking up because I mean they played, the Smashing Pumpkins played Billy and Co. played the State Theater in 2011 or 2012 with all, at that point, the Oceania Hired Guns, and it was a great show.
Was it? I was on tour. I was so sad to not see the Pumpkins at the State.
I was, when you said you'd never gotten close, I was like, dude, I'm right there. Like Billy is right. Wow. It was fucking awesome down on the right side there at the State, because there's no bad spot at the State Theater, but we were right up front. But that was in I think it was Oceania, or they were on tour for that. So,
and the only like notable name of that band was Jeff Schroeder, who went on to keep playing with them up until he left last year and was replaced with Kiki Wong of TikTok fame, who rips.
Oh yeah.
She's
they were looking for a guitarist a couple years ago, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I remember this.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
We saw me and Hannah went up to see them in Bangor with Kiki Wong, and we were kind of in the like view of Kiki Wong, like in the Kiki Wong section, and she just kept saying, she's like, it feels like the Kiki Wong show. Like she just rips as a guitarist.
Nice.
And obviously their set list was fucking sweet on this last. They opened with Doomsday Clock from Zeitgeist, which as a big diehard Pumpkins guy, Zeitgeist is my like holy grail of things you guys don't appreciate enough. So
yeah, I need to listen to that again because I had it. I remember having it when it came out.
Yeah, go buy it for $2.99 at Bull Moose used.
Was
right,
that the,
it's not on streaming. Yeah.
Was that the Statue of Liberty one?
Yeah.
Never listened to that album.
I promise you, if you go buy that album at Bull Moose, which is the only way to hear it is on CD, or if I loan it to you, it is the best Smashing Pumpkins album you've never heard by far. It's incredible.
Wow.
Kind of front to back too. It's just, it does everything you want out of the Pumpkins. If you like Siamese Dream and Mellon Collie, I guess, but it's kind of like Billy and Jimmy is the vibe.
Yeah.
It's like Billy and Jimmy doing what they do best, guitar, drum. Jimmy Chamberlain's never sounded better than Zeitgeist.
Okay. All right.
So I recommend highly. It's a hill I'll die on, and hopefully a tattoo I'll have is Zeitgeist is,
When did that come out?
2007.
2007, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Terry Date produced.
Terry Date. Yeah, we tried to get Terry Date on.
Keep it going. Keep trying.
We're going to keep trying. Oh, yeah, we're not done trying, but we have
Someday
tried.
he's going to hit you back and be like, it's a date.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be perfect. That would be perfect. But yeah, okay, so we left off on that, fucking Bullet. So we got a ways to go here.
Well, so Bullet goes right into To Forgive, right? Which is another, the audacity, man.
Because that's what quiet. It's kind of a ballad, right? Almost.
I love that song. It's a good break from what you've just gone through over 6 tracks, right? It's a come down, but it's also like it's got some soul. Like, oh man, I love that song.
And I guess I just want to one more time not overlook Bullet with Butterfly Wings. What a quintessential,
so good,
badass song. The introduction of the Zero shirt obviously was that.
Oh yeah.
In the last video where Billy had hair.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
But Bullet with Butterfly Wings to me is like, that's the Smashing Pumpkins. All the pieces of it that it keeps building and building, the scream, I was like, oh, obviously it feels like maybe the more visceral end of the Smashing Pumpkins, but to me that's like the center of my pump. Like today's like a little safer than that over here.
Yeah.
That's like the real feeling.
That's here's all my feelings. Yeah, I'm nobody and I'm stuck in a fucking cage, but here's all of the feelings. Like, I'm gonna give them to you right now.
Well, I think that showcased his vocals more than ever, and the range. And I was thinking, Tony, we did recent episodes on Blink, we did recent episodes on Green Day, and in both of those episodes, you called out the fact that those bands are huge, but they have fucking weird ass vocalists.
Yep, absolutely.
Tom DeLonge, that's unique. Is one of a kind. He's not emulating anyone. Billy Joe, same thing. Bilko, it's
nobody
him.
Sounds like him.
It's him through and through. And for most bands, it wouldn't work. But these guys have tracks, and that's the X factor. And I think that holds true for those other bands. But I think that was on display on this album, and I think it was on display on this song, and on the biggest stage.
And what's crazy about the Smashing Pumpkins is that they are so one of one, but so many bands have tried to fucking rip them off. Like we've talked about Deftones core, there's Pumpkins core out there all fucking day.
Oh,
the guitar tone, the sound, but you can't. There is nobody that sounds
here's
like
the
them.
thing. There's bands claiming Pumpkins core that don't fucking sound anything like them.
It's true. There's a lot of that. I have heard a lot of that because you can't sound like Billy. Nobody does.
And a lot of people hate this band for that. I can't, or they just, that's like a non-starter for them is his voice. They're like, but I think to your point, the range of Bullet with Butterfly Wings specifically from opening with literally speaking voice to the most visceral scream you've heard in the last 7 years in rock is such a range in one record in 3 minutes. But to keep us moving, I will say the next 5 tracks of the set list kind of fluctuate what we've been talking about, the audacity back and forth.
Yep.
To Forgive right into Fuck You, an Ode to No One, the most brutal shit you've ever heard. Love, which has this really cool kind of almost like drum loop type of fuzz,
It's like psychedelic almost.
Yeah,
a little bit.
very psychedelic. Yeah.
I really have always enjoyed that song a lot. The next two songs, I know Billy's aiming for some kind of like tribute to Americana type of or traditional whatever, but Cupid DeLocke and Galapagos have always been skips for me.
Really, Galapagos.
Oh, Galapagos. Oh,
I love
that.
that song.
Yeah.
It's
Cupid,
just because I
Cupid's a
know
skip.
Galapagos is kind of, they actually played it a couple of tours ago. I know it's like a beloved Pumpkins record, but for me, I just couldn't wait to get to Muzzle Porcelina back to back.
Yeah,
Is like,
yeah.
I love Muzzle's another one, which is maybe the most, it's almost like the major chords version of like Bullet or something. It's like, here's the big Smashing Pumpkins at our, everything, but like all positive.
Well, and when Jimmy comes in with the drums, it's just like boom. Oh, it's so good. You're right. I would say that Cupid and Galapagos are like the B team compared to Muzzle and Porcelina, but I love Galapagos. I can't gloss over that one. It's one of my favorites.
Well, and I love the audacity of both of those.
Yeah,
for sure. But I think if we're later to cut this down to 24 songs, those two for me would both go.
Okay, all right.
But
I can't get rid of Galapagos, but I can get rid of
Cupid is a gonzo. That's gone.
I just remember, but just, I mean, again, we're 10 years old. So like to listen to this, I haven't heard any of the music Billy's referencing or Billy's like inspired by. So this is my introduction to every one of these, to goth rock, to this whatever traditional shit he's doing on Cupid DeLocke. Is even just to see like, oh, you can put a song in a different language title, like it's just so, it's really my introduction to so much of this. You could name a song, some weird woman's name in 5 words,
Yep. Yeah, and there's nobody named Porcelina, but
and you can make it 9 minutes long with a 1.5-minute intro.
And you have to call it Vast, or you have to put Vast in the title of the song if you're going to do that, because
Only
it's
that,
fucking almost
yeah.
10 minutes long.
So at 10, had we experienced a 9-minute song? I mean,
if we had, we didn't know we were experiencing it.
I bet the closest we'd been is Bohemian Rhapsody, which I had definitely heard.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The Wayne's World.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But like, we weren't like actively putting on 10-minute songs back then, because we didn't A, know to, or B, know that they were really possible. Like Queen did one, okay, cool. I don't really know, there weren't a lot of grunge 10-minute songs. There weren't a lot of pop punk. I mean, there's no Green Day 10-minute songs, right? So
I will just say, I mean, I won 3rd place at the Wells Junior High Literary Awards with my short story about Porcelina of the Vast Oceans this year.
Do you still have it?
Maybe my mom, but like that, is to say it felt like lore to me, where it's like, oh, I understand what he's describing. There's this world of oceans and heavens and like, so it's just to say, like, I really bought into all this, and I got so much deep out of disc 1. We're at track 12, 13 of disc 1, and I'm pulling all-time classics out.
So many good songs. And actually, we did episode 100 ways back, right? And you were part of that, where we did our comfort food albums, records we always go back to.
Yeah.
I'm a dumbass. I don't know why I didn't pick this one, because listening to this one brought me so much comfort again. I was like back to where I fell in love with music by listening to, especially side 1, because I listened to side 1 a million times growing up. But it's, we're this deep, and we still have another 15 tracks to go, and it's just fucking loaded with songs.
And all respect to James Eha, but Take Me Down would be a cut for me. I barely ever listened to it consciously, like I'd hear it, it's on.
Same.
But after Porcelina and Muzzle, yeah.
It feels like a Flaming Lips song.
Would you guys both say your disc 1's your favorite disc?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Wild.
Yeah.
And there are so many good songs on disc 2. Disc 1 was always where I started, so you get an hour in and you're like, shit, I want to listen to disc 2, but I only have time for fucking Bodies and 33, and then we gotta move.
I think disc 2 was my favorite. I think I listened to it more because looking at the tail end of it, I really love all those songs.
See,
We Only Come Out at Night, Beautiful, Lily, My One and Only, By Starlight, which was the name of my Smashing Pumpkins fan page.
Nice.
And then all 3 of them singing on Farewell Goodnight is, to me, like, if we had to cut a song, maybe that goes, but like I do love that the touch of the 3 of them. But disc 2 was really my home, because I mean, what rips more than Where Boys Fear to Tread? That's like the
So
coolest,
good. Yeah, it's a great
craziest
album intro.
opener.
Side 2, track 1. I mean, that we should do a side 2, track 1
That's a
episode,
great
and then this
one.
would be up there. Like, this is,
Yeah.
of course you're gonna, it's like the fucking Rage Tire Me or whatever side 2 starts with. It's like a banger. Question for you, Spose.
Sure.
Did you know track names in the moment? I was telling, before you jumped on, I was telling Tony, I didn't know the track names of this record in the moment. You want to know why?
Why?
That fucking booklet never fit in my binders, in my CD binders. It wouldn't fit. So I didn't know. And I'm not carrying around the fucking suitcase of a jewel case. So I never knew the song list, the track list.
You know what's funny is I had like one of those, it was like our holy grail to have your own CD Case Logic, 12
absolutely.
disc CD holder, bigger one or whatever. I had all these albums in it, and then I would keep Mellon Collie in the plastic case in my backpack as well.
Nice. Yeah.
So I had the CD case, and then a Mellon Collie was on its own, just in the case.
In case you needed to look it up. Yeah.
Well, so I would listen to it and flip through the lyrics book. So I was very familiar with the song titles, and
right on.
I was very, very familiar with them. But I mean, the booklets themselves were very, they're so cool. I have a painting in the other room that I got from Dragon Pop Art. Is this dude who I've met through the Smashing Pumpkins kind of community, who he did a painting of that picture that's in the center of the non-lyrics booklet, where it's them kind of all dressed flamboyantly. I think like Jimmy's in yellow, and Billy's in some floral shirt, and Darcy's there with a carrot, and he did like a painting of that pixelated that I have in the other room. And so that booklet had a bunch of kind of lore in it and weird pictures of like baseball games with birds flying in the sky and stuff. And then so I looked through that a few times, but I really spent all my time in that booklet with the icons for each song that I have tattooed all over me, because they're like they were so cool. It's like the Zero one is this tattoo right here.
Yeah.
Right
It's
on.
like, what a crazy picture for Zero, because it's like, okay, what does he mean by that bird? Like obviously it's like a O, so maybe that's a zero, but like, so it like added to the songs. Like there's some other meaning there that I wasn't picking up on from the lyrics. And to be honest, I'm not a big lyrics guy with rock bands. Usually, like I'm more of like a feel and like what it feels like Where Boys Fear to Tread, for example, like where we're at, like the lyrics to that are all a bunch of crazy images, like on dead highways, and the horse flies, and the something explodes, and like and so like I was just like, all right, it's dangerous and it's dark and it's goth and it's, I don't know, and then
it's a riff. It's a fucking riff.
Oh, it's that riff, bro. I love that riff.
Well, they go from that into Bodies, right? I mean, so the energy's up. It's not the disc 1 experience; it's the disc 2 experience.
Well, it's nighttime. Now we're gonna play, heavy, loud, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sludgy guitar riffs, because that's where we're at until the end of the record. The next 4 or 5 songs, we get a lot of those.
And I guess maybe because disc 1 is packed so tight right up front with Tonight, Zero, Bullet with Butterfly Wings. And even though it wasn't a hit single, like Here Is No Why is unskippable. It's like such a great song. Yeah. And it's like, because that's so tight and so acceptable, I think disc 2 like called to me, because it's like, although it has 1979 is like this, like it's even more dangerous. We're even more, we're even more badass.
There are a few more chances taken on the second disc. I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And then 33, which is the 5th single off Mellon Collie, I believe, even though they ended up putting Muzzle on radio after as like a 6th single. You go 6 singles deep, you've made it in America. Yeah. You're Katy Perry. But which, that's another thing to keep in mind about this is, okay, so you want to prove you're not Pearl Jam, you're not Stone Temple Pilots, you're not Nirvana, you're not whatever, you're not Green Day, you're bigger, you're better, you're more diverse. Okay, go try. But to do it and also go like U2 number of singles deep, Katy Perry number of singles deep on the album, and prove it. Like show and prove. It's like, okay, well, is the only reason this is like the ultimate fuck you by success by Billy Corgan is because every one of these was a number one alternative hit, basically, maybe barring 33 and Muzzle.
But this is a good a point to talk about the singles real quick, just in general. They didn't sacrifice anything artistically. They were just, these are the songs we're putting forward. If you like them, great. But this is what we put together. And they were all big. Like, they were all rock radio hits, every one of them.
And a credit to some man at Virgin Records whose name I don't know and has never been credited as far as I know. But Billy turned this album in, and he has brought up several times that the label chose Bullet with Butterfly Wings as the first single.
Wild. I didn't know that. Because if you listen to the album, I do think the first, the three big, like the trilogy of singles, those are the ones that they should have picked. I get that. But those are not singles. Think of it in the landscape of music.
Like singles,
and that's what makes this so wild. And I'm sure we'll get into like the double album element of this and how much it sold, but like it shouldn't have worked. There's no way it should have worked.
You got to be writing great songs to be taking those type of risks, and you got to be in some sort of really awesome songwriting flow state to go to all those places bravely. You know, to go to Tonight, to go to Bullet, to go to even 1979, which kind of also notoriously they finished on the last day of the album recording.
Insane.
And they're all different. They all sound different. I mean, there's some similarities to 33 and 79, but they're not the same song.
No. And I think that's why I loved this band so much.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, okay, I'm all, because I'm not all angry all the time, but I'm angry sometimes, and I'm not all sad all the time, but I'm sad sometimes, and it's like it almost makes everybody else's favorite band feel like a one-note decision.
That's a great point.
When you can grab the song that fits your mood.
Right. And there are other bands of all time who fit into this category, but like this is, for me, that's what I was like, I'm picking the one with the most to offer. As far as I guess different emotions, different feelings, different depth of whatever, I don't think that was a conscious choice. It's just, this is what I was drawn to.
Well, and they offered it, right? In 1979 into Tales of a Scorched Earth. Like, is there a fucking better name for that song?
No, that is
so good.
So that is a song title that I did know. And listening back, I'm like, oh, I remember this fucking song.
Dude, 1970, I mean, the audacity continues. I mean, there's like 2 or 3 of these, because the stereotype of 90s grunge was loud, quiet, loud, right? Like the verse of Smells Like Teen Spirit is quiet, the chorus is loud, whatever. And they're doing that loud, quiet, loud, like song to song, where it goes Bodies
Crazy.
Into 33, 1979 into Scorch Earth, To Forgive into Fuck You, Stumbling into XYU. But there's one thing that we're about to hit here in this track list that really reminds me of Siamese Dream because it's almost perfect. Something like Soma, or like kind of that Soma Mayonnaise Geek USA section of Siamese Dream that just shows you everything this band can do at its most beautiful and most destructive and coolest, is Tales of a Scorched Earth. I'm sorry, Through the Eyes of Ruby.
Yeah, and Through the Eyes of Ruby is so good.
Through the Eyes of Ruby, which is
song.
just, I mean, and it's again one of these
7.5
long
minutes.
ass songs.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there we are at 10 years old, knowing 7 minutes is perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely.
As long as you're
and
building
we'll move units. Yeah.
Bro.
We'll move units. You're not gonna shy away from putting it on. You're just put it on 2 hours in. Like, at this point, you're an hour and a half in, and like you're throwing a 7.5 minute song at you, and it's fucking awesome. And it shows everything they can do. It's metal. It's got melody. It's fucking awesome. I fucking love that song. I was surprised at how much I didn't remember it. Going back to listening to it for the first time in full in quite a while. And I was like, why don't I come back to this song more often? It's fucking awesome. It's
in a way the like Here Is No Why of disc 2. It's like, hey, if you liked Siamese Dream, you're gonna like this. And it's to this day, I think, one of the more beloved Pumpkin songs. I know they played it on the tour last summer, and just again, 7 tracks into disc 2. Here's an A+.
And most bands don't do that on a single fucking album. 7 so by song 7, most people are out.
Yeah,
You're done.
Or if anybody's in on track 7, it's only on one of their albums. All their other ones
right.
didn't.
Yeah.
You know.
And
The
it's
one and
not.
done.
It's track 21 at this point too, right?
Jeez, yeah. Track 21, and look at what's still about to happen is you know, I think these next what 7 or 8 songs here, Stumbling, XYU, We Only Come at Night, Beautiful Lily, by Starlight, is a lot of kind of quiet, chill experimentation, and one of the heaviest, craziest, weirdest songs of all time.
Yeah, right. It's all of that, and then here's this other thing that kind of ends the really heaviness of this record for the most part.
Yep.
But it's so fucking different, and that's 7 minutes long too.
And there's these really kind of like singular moments, and there's other great bands who do this where like a song reaches a point of no return, and maybe it's like A section, B section, A section, B section, C section, A section, it's over. But a band like Radiohead, or for example, will have like a D section where like you haven't heard this part at all, and you were never going back.
Mm.
And I think the Pumpkins do that a couple times on this record, but XYU is definitely one of those where it just keeps evolving and hits that in the eyes of a jackal, I say kaboom thing, which if you listen to the other takes of it on the box set, he does it different and weird every time. So it's like, it just goes to show some of these moments that become so iconic for you could have been so different if they just chose this other take, you know?
That's XYU's a fucking ripper.
Yeah, that's a good point though, because they could have just gone with a different take, and we'd be talking about that right now because the record's great and it would have worked too. But they went with this, and that's the stuff we've talked about a lot this year. Actually, it's just a product of the moment. It's a product of how they felt. This is the one we picked.
Yeah, and I'm instantly reminded of a really cool episode you guys did with the presidents of the United States of America, where he really is talking about the making of that big record and his experiences with it or whatever. And it's just like, it just makes you think like, oh, it's a couple guys at a moment in time, and because of these circumstances, it was this, and it would have been this if it was, you know, these other circumstances, or if he had this other guitar, or he didn't get this from that guy, or like, you know, it's just, the lore is pretty cool to learn with this stuff.
It's the best part. That's why we do it week to week, right? Is to figure out more stuff or talk through it, and maybe at some point they let us know that we were right or wrong.
You know what I will say though, given all that, the way this album hits the fucking strike zone in every category, it's almost unparalleled. The optics of the band, the fact that they delivered on two fucking basically full lengths, the singles are all over the map and they hit. Billy's a weird dude and weird vocalist, and it still hit. The lyrics, no one knows what the fuck he's talking about, and it still hits. It's bananas.
It's, you know, and the lyrics and nobody knows what the fuck he's talking about is so true.
Yeah,
like, and
I never do.
To be honest, I didn't even need to.
No, you didn't need.
I didn't need to. I didn't care. I didn't know, like, what does it mean? I don't care. I feel it. I'm feeling it, you know. And I guess just looking at these last 5 songs on Mellon Collie, they kind of have always felt like, not to say one note, but it's, if you were to put this as an EP or something, it's the chillest thing the Pumpkins have ever done.
Yeah.
Very like beautiful. I mean, beautiful is obviously a song in it, but this very like beautiful, peaceful thing. Apple used "We Only Come Out at Night" in a iPhone.
They did, you're right.
In a
Did they
camera. Really? Yo, I couldn't think like.
It was for like night vision photo stuff, right?
Yeah, it was like taking a long exposure on the iPhone. Like the new iPhone could take better pictures at night, and so they used "We Only Come Out at Night," and I was like, what? Some nerd at Apple loves Mellon Collie? And it was
if you're that nerd, DM us.
Yeah. You know, one of the only songs that really ever stood out to me narratively that I kind of felt like I understood what it was about was Lily, My One and Only.
That one makes the most sense as a song.
Which obviously I named my first child this as well. But yeah, it's like a story. Which is to say, hey, I can do a story as well. Yeah. You know, it's like, and one point you just brought up that I feel like, you know, really speaks to the magic of choosing this this essentially this track list of these 2 divided discs is extra wild when you listen to Airplane Flies High, which you could have picked any of those 20 and put them right on here, because a lot of those are better than some of these.
That's kind of crazy that they were that prolific with that many good songs. I got to go back and listen to that one because it's been a long time since I did. I think when I first got that, the most recent like CD box set, my wife just got for me years ago, and I listened to it then, but it's been a while.
If I was to just throw out a couple to check that could easily be right after Bullet with Butterfly Wings or anywhere on this 2 discs, is the Marquise in Spades on the Zero singles, right up. It's top Pumpkin song for me. The title track, The Airplane Flies High, could be right on here. Could be XYU, could be Porcelina, but it could be that song. And there's a bunch of beautiful stuff people really love on the Tonight single, but it never really spoke to me much. And then the singles on the covers on Bullet with Butterfly Wings single are incredible. They did a Cars cover that was how I ever heard of the Cars. And it's like, I've never heard of the Cars. I was a baby in 1980, whatever. So that was my introduction to the Cars, is them doing You're All I've Got Tonight, which was one of my most played songs of this era. I was like, oh, I love this. Jimmy's doing this cool drum thing. And I don't know, man. It's just wild that he settled on these 14 songs that turned out to be the right 28 songs.
Yeah.
And it went triple billion diamond.
Yeah, went diamond, which is insane for a double album. Insane.
How much was this?
Over $20. It's
I remember. Yeah. I think it was like 21,
22,
or something.
Yeah, something like that. Mid-90s. That would have been the price.
That's over $30 now.
Yeah.
You know what's? I just listened to this kind of record collector podcast. I don't recall the exact title of the podcast, but Billy Corgan was on it, and he was talking about how when Virgin, which is the record label they were on, Richard Branson's label, released this, it was obviously 1995, and he had made a whole version for vinyl that was a different track list, like 1 or 2 other songs, divided in a different order. And which he said the order was informed by the length of a side of a record. He's like, so I was like, what songs would sound good on this side of the record? So it was a totally different track list in a way, but he had to like fight Virgin to make vinyl because it's 1995 and nobody is selling vinyl. And so and it's obviously a shitload of records, and I guess they made 5,000 copies, and they're all numbered, and they're obviously very expensive if you want them on eBay. But then, because they were like, well, this isn't going to sell. We'll make 5,000 copies. It's vinyl. And they sold out like the week of. So they just kept printing them and didn't tell the Smashing Pumpkins. And so there's like a bunch of them that are all numbered the same.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah. But
I've got 5,002. Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, we all do. But that is to say, what a crazy era, 1995, to deliver this ballsy, crazy opus.
It's insane. Yeah. Looking back, let's get into looking back on it, because we're 30 years out. We're still, obviously, I think all 3 of us still love this record. Doing these exercises where we pitch a record to each other, let's talk about it, let's find somebody to talk about it with us. We immediately thought of you, obviously, because we knew you were a big Pumpkins fan, but it just transported me right back to being 10. And it's an absolute masterpiece. I wouldn't change a thing about it, even the stuff that I'm not as in love with as some of the other stuff. I just like the way it all kind of sits. And spending the last week with it pretty heavily, I've come to love it even more, paying more attention to it than I probably did the first 150 times I listened to it.
You nailed it. Yeah. The only thing I would add, though, is doing this exercise, listening back. Is there an album where the presentation matches the sound more than this? And what underscored it for me was I'm listening to Tonight, and all I can think about is the music video. It's such a companion to the music, where it wasn't like a band playing in the fucking field, or, you know what I mean? Just like any type of, playing in a school. It's like, no, there's like, this is art. This is art. I mean, it's so broad to say it, but like, it's a companion to the music, which didn't always happen. And it took effort, and it took a vision, and it took obviously financial backing, but they nailed it.
You can think of some other maybe examples of, even in this era or modern times, where, because we don't acknowledge it so much, but the presentation matters a lot of times just as much as the music. Like the presentation of the Strokes, for example. is not this lore-y kind of whatever, but it's like you can't talk to them. They don't want to talk. They're smoking cigarettes. They're in New York. They're like, but and so that contributes to the presentation in a way, or the or whatever. I can think of some other artists in this era whose presentation did very much enhance the why people latched on to it so much. I can think of the Downward Spiral.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 9 Inch Nails, and I think a lot of the visual kind of stuff really made you feel it more. I mean, this is a little bit of the degree, but like even like a Tragic Kingdom, like okay, like I see all these videos, I see the cover art, the CD is an orange. All right, I'm in California. There's a little bit of that to it. The Mechanical Animals, Marilyn Manson, The Dope Show.
Oh yeah.
The I Don't Like the Drugs. That vibe is like okay, but like nobody did it like this, man.
No, not as at this level, at this scale.
The scale, yeah.
It's not 10 songs; it's 28, and then I mean it's really way more than that because of all the stuff that came out of it after. There weren't a lot of bands doing this in this time frame.
You nailed it at the scale. Like there's niche bands that hit a pocket, right? But to hit this broad, and like your fucking buddy's dad had the CD, Tony. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Shut up, Bert.
So I will say my dad had Siamese Dream.
Wow.
Because my dad was young, and my dad had, Dookie, and he had, he had all that. So he had Core, he had Purple, he had Vitology, he had all that stuff. But like this one was mine. This he never owned. This is when he was out. He was like, I'll take you to the show, but I'm not, Tales of a Scorched Earth.
I like Here Is No Why, but the rest of it can fuck itself.
Yeah. But I think, everything down to, and I have a copy over here I bought off eBay, but like the Rolling Stone cover they did in this era where Billy's in the silver pants and the zero shirt and the gloves, and they're all this.
Didn't you do that at one of your Pete and Xmas?
Yeah, I wore the whole outfit, man. With the Yeezys, rest in peace. And it's just everything they did in this era added to the lore that it felt like I was a fan of this like never-ending thing that I couldn't. And then I will say they kept going in this era where now they're doing the Batman soundtrack, and now they're doing the Lost Highway soundtrack, which had The Perfect Drug by 9 Inch Nails, and then I by Smashing Pumpkins, which they still play to this day. And I was, as a diehard, so excited for the electro era they were going into, which felt like promise delivered when Ava Adore dropped. But then when Adore, the album, came out on June 2nd or whatever that day, I went and bought it, and it was not electro.
Yeah, different.
And I was like, fuck. I was like, we could have had, in a way, I think if they had gone kind of the way that music had gone in that little year and a half there from Mellon Collie to 1997, which is the Chemical Brothers and Prodigy and Fatboy Slim and 9 Inch Nails doing The Perfect Drug, if they had gone Sneaker Pimps, any of that type of drum.
I want you to keep going. You're rattling off some fucking classics of the era.
So that even like Primitive Radio Gods, like that type of something, Rob would be so stoked right now.
He'd be so stoked. He won't listen to this, but he would be so stoked.
Yeah, he will certainly. He's selling a house right now. But that vibe, which they showed they could do just as good as anybody on The End Is the Beginning Is the End, and on and on Ava Adore, which I believe was just a bunch of shit Billy made on a drum machine because he didn't have Jimmy Chamberlain.
Yeah, good point.
So it's like, what a wild circumstantial, essentially, demise of the Smashing Pumpkins because of that. Because like, I think if they had delivered on that promise of electronic rock, which rock was, that's where we were headed.
Mm-hmm.
White Town, Your Woman, like we were headed there. We were there, and Billy was there a year and a half before. He was ready to go. And I think I don't know what happened with Adore, but obviously Adore is like a fan. We all love that album, but like it was the demise of the Smashing Pumpkins as the biggest band in the world for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, people were like, what? This isn't what I've been listening to.
Yeah, it's maybe a little darker than what I was expecting. Or...
Yeah.
And even the singles that became popular, like Perfect or Ava Adore, were not to the heights of Tonight or Bullet or any of those. They were much bigger songs of that era. I mean, you could argue that the Foo Fighters were a bigger band in that year.
They were. And U2 was probably bigger at that point with,
Sure. Or, and then we're leading right into nu metal, which, I embraced and I owned, all the Korn and Limp Bizkit.
The Jinkos,
And the Jinkos, and which I would have
Did
sold.
You ever
my
have any
soul
Pacos?
to own.
Remember Pacos? The knockoff?
I had Zones. Remember Zones?
I do remember Zones, yeah.
Not to sound snooty, but I had morals and I would not wear Pacos.
I had a pair of Jinkos and a pair of Pacos. I had them both.
I begged for the Jinkos, although I was like a rich, 12-year-old because I worked at the newspaper. So I had a bunch illegally under the table.
Nice.
So I had a bunch of money for the concert tickets and the Jinkos.
Yeah, the $90 jeans.
The Pumpkins were kind of like a JCPenney in Portsmouth at the Fox Run Mall. And
shout out.
But it is to say the Pumpkins after Mellon Collie never kind of arose again to this height. So, I could speak about those years after that forever, but this was really when we were the cool kids. The Pumpkins fans were the cool kids.
Yeah.
And so I'll cherish this. It's just a perfect moment to me. And even my this is a little deep, but even my home life was real fucked up at that time, and a lot of domestic abuse stuff. And I still think of this time, this couple years, as positive, because of this shit that I was so attached to and found so much of myself and just got so inspired by music. But man, nothing ever got back here for me in rock. Really, nothing ever got me back here to this feeling. There was stuff that made me excited. There was stuff that I don't know, emo stuff I gravitated towards, or the Deftones or the Strokes or whatever, but nothing felt this expansive.
Yeah, expansive, or with the theatrics, and just to draw you into Billy's mind. I mean, that's really what it is. It's his universe, his scorched earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yep.
There is one album I would say that felt like it was giving me a watered down version dosage of this. Do you want to guess?
Ooh, give me a year.
Not this band, obviously. I'm gonna guess 2005. It could be as late as 2006 or 7, but I think 2006.
My Chem.
Yeah.
My Chem.
Yeah.
They did it.
Black Parade felt as close to this as I've ever got, and love that album, which is a great. He's obviously like a more adventurous singer even than Billy Corgan. So it's you get a lot of those cool kind of theatrics.
Well, he looks just like him. He's his son.
Aren't they brothers?
So, yeah, he's his son.
And somewhat, I also have listened to a podcast with Mikey Way, the brother of Gerard Way, and who I think was on the Smashing Pumpcast or something. And their first show was the Mellon Collie tour in New Jersey.
Oh wow!
So it's a big, true inspiration of the trajectory to do that. And I believe My Chemical Romance cited Mellon Collie and A Night at the Opera as their inspirations for that. But man, nobody's doing it like this. The closest feeling I felt to this, maybe it was just my age and where I was at in the world as a white suburban male, but the closest thing I felt to this was those first 3 Eminem albums were man, this is the visual, the everything, the all encompassing everything. When you heard the B-sides, you were more of a fan.
Mm-hmm.
When you saw the old video, or you saw the music video, you're yes, this is even better than I thought, and it just kept shocking you and never kind of compromising, which is why Encore was such a bummer.
Yeah, it's true.
Is that with Mosh? That song?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the first 3 records though, the first 3 mainstream records, right? Not kind of Infinite. Those first 3.
I can't claim to know Eminem before my name is. So
Me.
Nope,
And
me
that
neither.
came up. That actually came up last time we had you on because I think I had that as a perfect song because of what it kicked off as far as its career goes. Maybe we'll do that sometime.
yeah, shout out Eminem.
Well, Spose, I'll tell you this. We knew you were a fan. I didn't know you were this fan. Like reciting track lists by fucking memory. So it's funny. I had Wiki up. You nailed the fucking release date of Adore.
Yeah.
Yeah, June 2nd. I'm like, who the fuck knows
Bro,
that?
he had that by Starlight. He had that
By
page,
Starlight.
that
I
page.
subscribed
My dad used to make fun of me because I would chronicle time in reference to like the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm like, oh, well, that was when they put out Zero, you know, or like, you know,
Yeah.
or like that was when we went to Walmart and I bought the Zero single, you know, or whatever.
Insane.
And so, I mean, I remember that. I remember June 2nd going to Eat the Music in Wells, which was our $17, you know, per CD
It's our
yeah.
CD Authority. Yeah, we had one of
record
those.
store owned by this dude who, I mean, this is would not fly today, but like we thought he was cool because he's like an older dude in his like 20s or 30s, but he had like boobs as the background on his computer, and we would like sneak around the back to like look. Yeah, I mean, I really am that fan of the Smashing Pumpkins. They really are my band, and I just love to like, I guess in a way, like stubbornly ride or die for the Pumpkins. You know, like I've listened to Gory Maury May a bunch of times.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Which was great. I listened. That was
Yeah.
the first Pumpkins album I listened to. I don't even know, and I really enjoyed it. I remember listening to it when it came out.
yeah, and I mean, I will say I wish I could say otherwise, but Sear and Autumn,
Adam,
had you know, maybe 2 or 3 songs each that I would super keep forever, that I really really love, and I think those are the ones that Billy also loves because he plays them still. Spellbinding off Autumn is like an all timer, but Gory Maury May was like, oh okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing what
Giving
the
us a
trick,
record. Yeah.
giving us a record and giving us the show, giving us the drug we want, you know. And I really also love because the Pumpkins don't need to do the all guitarsy shit to be the Smashing Pumpkins. I love that last song on Gory Maury May that's like When the River Runs. I forget what it's called, but it's, you know, it's orchestral and it's like Tonight and it's like, yes, please do all the things you do. But yeah, man, I love the Pumpkins. Thank you guys for inviting me on for this one. I couldn't wait to talk about it.
Had to. I mean, we knew you were the fan. We knew you were the guy for it. And
Love them.
this will be, if you stuck with us for this long, thank you. I'll link
I'm
all
so sorry. Yeah.
No, you probably enjoy it just as much as we do. And I'll link all of Spose's stuff in the show notes. So go buy tickets for the summer bangers that are coming up.
Check me out, but go check out Billy Corgan and the Machines of God this summer, man. They're gonna
Right.
rip, playing tiny rooms.
It's a treat. I don't think I'll get there, but because I've never seen the Pumpkins, that would be the time to see them.
Oh my lord! You should have been to Bangor last summer. That show was
I
awesome.
wanted to go to that so
I
bad.
should have seen him in the elevator at fucking
At Mohegan
Mohegan,
Sun.
yeah.
Mohegan Sun.
Man, I forgot I told you that. Yeah, I will just say one of the enduring things about this album and the Pumpkins for me is maybe a closing note is that I just never get sick of these songs. The Bullet
Never.
Butterfly Wing, the Zero, the Tonight, the 1979. I never get sick of it, even though I've heard them a billion times. And for the first time ever, I feel like I heard Tonight correctly when I saw them in Bangor. Like I heard it as if like, oh, and Hannah can attest to this. I like cried because I was like, oh, and I think to be honest, to be sentimental about it, it was these guys were there with me when I was little and they're still here.
Yeah, and you
for
get to
me
see
now.
him still. Yeah,
Yeah, and but that song, the lyrics, which I'd always overlooked in a way, like I've always just like taken them for granted in a way, just like hit me the 7 billionth time I heard it,
Yeah.
you know,
Which
and
is
I was
insane if you think about it.
right.
only took 7 billion times, right?
And I look forward to 7,000,000,001. Can't
Yep.
wait.
Yep, find something new every time. All right, we got to cut it there because we're gonna keep this thing going. It's gonna take me 5 years to edit. I can't wait, but I'm excited to dig back into it because this is a blast, and this is why we do this week to week. So, thanks
Thank
for
you,
joining
man.
us, Spose, man. This is a blast.
Thanks for checking us out. Thanks, Spose. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Podioslave. We are at Podioslave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podioslave Podcast. YouTube, Podioslave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.